Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we will chant the Mangacharan and then we will read up to Viraga, which is dispassion. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapadam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya TatvaBodho Vidhiyate. Sadhan Chatushtaya Sampannadhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshyamaha. Sadhan Chatushtayam Kim Nitya Vastu Vivekaha Ihamutrartha Falabho Viragaha Shamadhi Shataka Sampattihi Mumukshutvam Cheti. Nitya Vastu Vekaha Nitya Vastvekam Brahma Tadvyatiriktam Sarvam Anityam Ayameva Nityan Nitya-vastu Vivekaha Viragaha Kaha Iha Swarga Bhogeshu Icharahityam. So last week we saw that this book is for obtaining moksha for an adhikari or one who is qualified with the fourfold qualification. And to such a qualified person, the method of inquiry into the nature of reality is given. Vakshyamaha is given or expounded. So as we had also said, this is in a unique format of asking a question and then answering and expounding on the topic. So the next question then, of course, which is asked is, what is Sadhan Chatushtayam? What are the fourfold qualifications, which he said was Nitya, Anitya Vastu Vivekaha. The discrimination or discernment between the permanent and the impermanent. Then dispassion towards enjoying fruits of actions here and hereafter, which is viraga. And beginning with Shama, Shama Adi. Adi means to begin. Shama Adi, Shataka Sampati. The sixfold wealth beginning with Shama and Mumukshutvam. These are the fourfold qualifications. So once we know that it is in the form of question and answer, and he's asked a question, what is Shama? So of course, logically, it follows that the next question, I'm sorry, Sadhan Chatushtaya is what I should have said. So the next question is, what is Viveka? And we saw what Viveka was, which we will reintroduce ourselves to. And then after that comes the question, what is Viraga? So Viveka, we had spoken about last class, that it is the discrimination between permanent and the impermanent. That discrimination of what is permanent and impermanent broadly falls into the category of Brahma Viveka, which is knowing that which is eternal is only the Brahman. But to be able to do that discrimination, a certain preparation is required. So we have to be able to do what is called the Dharma Viveka. Dharma Viveka is the ability to discern or differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. But to be able to even discriminate between what is right and what is wrong, we have first got to be able to have certain other abilities to discern. So what is it that we need to be able to discern there? What is Shreyas and what is Preyas? What is good and what is pleasant? What is good for me may not be immediately attractive or appealing. It may be a little, as a matter of fact, not attractive in the beginning, but leads to permanent joy. And that we had seen beautifully in Bhaj Govindam. And what is immediately gratifying and attractive is may lead to pain in long term. So that is the discernment between Shreyas and Preyas. The other one was the discrimination between Sadhan and Sadhya, to be able to differentiate between what is one's means and what is the goal and what is the means to the goal. For that, we had given the example of wealth. Wealth is a means for living comfortably and for some security, but we often tend to make it a goal. The other Vivek also required was Amsha and Amshi, between the part and the whole, to know what is the part and to know what is the whole. When we have pain in the part of our body, we feel the whole body is in a pain. So that is a discernment, not just with our body, but in many other areas it can be applied, and we need to be very sharp to be able to discern between the two part and the whole. And finally, between Sukha and Dukkha, the mind tends to go towards that which gives it joy, and we are not able to differentiate. We think that is joy and we fall for it, and then we end up with pain. And so you can see that this Sukha and Dukkha is very closely related to Shreyas and Preyas. So if we are able to discern this as we live our lives, then our intellect will become very sharp, and we will be able to separate and discern between what is right and what is wrong. And we will then be able to live in a rightful way. That living will then lead us to the faculty of being able to do Brahma Viveka, which is to discern and differentiate between that which is permanent and eternal. So Vivek is the capacity to be able to detach ourselves from the glitter and the glamour of the world. And what it does is it destroys our moha or delusion. And delusion is what makes us seek happiness where it is not. And so that is the capacity we develop by developing Viveka. There is a beautiful doha by Tulsidas. Binu satsanga viveka na hoye, Rama kripa bina sulabhana soye. Without the company of good, Viveka is not possible. And even to get that satsang, we need the grace of the Lord. Without satsang, without the right company, it will not happen. And we have seen its applications. If you look at the Alcoholics Anonymous, or even the other diet clubs that help you reduce weight, people with the same problem come together and strengthen each other to walk this path and to stay away from that which is distracting or disturbing them. So this capacity with which we reorganize our priorities because of our intellectual appreciation, that does not allow us to get carried away with the glamour and glitz of the temporary, and directs our pursuits towards that which will bring about the permanent joy, make us more sattvic. That intellectual capacity is called Viveka. And once we get that and direct our lives through Viveka, we will become more and more sattvic or subtle in all our pursuits. Once we have Viveka, Vairagya will follow. What is Vairagya? Viveka in action is Vairagya. Application of Viveka is Vairagya. Right now, it is the strength actually to apply Viveka. We all know that we should eat healthy. We all know that we should exercise. We all know that we should have a certain bedtime and get up at a certain time. The intellectual appreciation is already there. But why is the application not there? The application is not there because we have not yet developed the strength to overcome that. And we have not put it in practice, in action. Now, if Viveka does not lead to Vairagya, then it is a barren Viveka. It is only an intellectual appreciation. It has not brought about a shift within us. So sense craving is so deep rooted in us that it keeps us extrovert. And this is beautifully explained by a story. It's a very traditional story that is told to us when we grow up. Some of us might have heard of the story also. So there was this man who was fleeing from a tiger, and the tiger was just right behind him. So he sees a tree and the man climbs the tree. And then he hangs from the branch of the tree because that was the first thing that comes to him. Now this branch of the tree is also weak and it is swaying. And it is swaying on top of a well. In the well is filled with snakes. So there is a tiger waiting on one side and the well is full of snakes. But on top of the tree, there is a beehive. And there is butter, there is honey that is dropping from the beehive. And as the branches swing, the man is opening his mouth to enjoy the sweetness of the honey. Now, this story is given so graphically just to explain to us how deep-rooted the sense pleasure is in us. We want that sense craving is so much that under all circumstances, our attention will go towards enjoying. Instead of looking at the other ways we can save ourselves, the attention is towards enjoying. Now, this craving makes us dependent upon our senses, and one makes compromises of dharma and of values. So what Vairagya does is transforms our values into virtues. When we put our values into action, they become a virtue. Of course, those are the values that we have intellectually appreciated and thought about with great clarity through Viveka. It is the capacity not to be swayed by likes and by dislikes, and to be able to enjoy life, whatever life brings. It does not mean that we do not work towards certain achievements, towards certain goals. We work with a clarity of purpose, but whatever life brings, then we accept and enjoy. It is not a state where one says grapes are sour. That it is the inability to achieve, and that is a disinterest because one is not willing to put in effort. So that is not, grapes are sour is not Vairagya. It is to remain cheerful. I could not achieve it. Maybe I will work harder. I will try. Maybe I failed somewhere. To re-examine. It is ichha rahityam, no desire, because one has clarity of knowledge that there is happiness is not in any given objects. So the two ways to get that vision is what we saw in Bhaja Govindam. Dosha buddhi and dukkha buddhi. Dosha buddhi is to see the limitation, and the dukkha buddhi is to see the other side, painful side, not just to see the good side of it. For example, eating fried foods, to see that I enjoy it, but to see that it will clog my arteries, it will lead to other issues. Dukkha buddhi is not to see only the pain. I see the pleasure, but I also see the other side. That is what is to be seen. So what did we see in Bhaja Govindam? One of the verses, what? Yavat vitto parjana sakta, tavat nija parivaro rakta. That we are so attached to our families. And often, this is just one area, not all areas. So our actions are guided more by our attachments rather than by what is right and wrong. So he says, look at that. Your family and your friends and near and dear ones will be with you as long as there is wealth. After that, how many will remain with you? Just a way of making you see correctly. It isn't that it's a negative side. Another beautiful example of Vairagya is Siddhartha. Siddhartha, what did he see? He saw a deceased person. He saw an old man, and he saw a dead body. He had never seen those before. And he asks his charioteer about these three. And the charioteer tells him that diseases come to all. Everybody ages and everyone will die. Immediately, he saw the limitation of living as this body. And these three sights transformed him. And that transformation was what led him and transformed him into what? Into Buddha. So Vairagya, we have often seen, is that people, many of us have seen this growing up in India, that when they don't get what they want, they get depressed, no interest in anything in life. I have Vairagya, they say. That is not Vairagya, that is depression and disinterest. People who have Vairagya are full of joy. They are happy inside. We have seen There have been great people where we have seen Vairagya in action. Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa. You look at their faces, you will see joy coming out of them, oozing from them. None of the, what they have or do not have matters to them. They have pitched their goals high. Everything else is dropped. For Nelson Mandela, he was not even allowed to attend the funeral of his son. He was kept imprisoned. They did not give him permission to go just to attend the funeral. Did he become bitter? Did he get depressed? He continued to serve his people with the same enthusiasm and same joy. Because through his discrimination, he had pitched on to a very noble ideal. So if it is empty, if Vairagya is empty and shallow, it will be sour grapes. What is the point of doing? I get nothing in return. I don't even get to attend my son's funeral. No, matters not. So this mastery over the mind, where the mind will not revolt because it has discerned through Viveka and it puts it into action. So Vairagya that is guided by Viveka is a beautiful blossoming. One enjoys life as it comes. So for any achievement, we will see the sixfold qualifications, whether the achievement is in the world outside or whether it is our goal to seek the eternal within. These fourfold qualifications will make every achievement possible. So for achievement, consistency in endeavor and concentration are absolutely essential. These come through Viveka and Vairagya. Vairagya is a very powerful quality that helps us to put everything aside that does not lead us to the goal. Vairagya without Viveka is escapism or shallow. Some disappointment has come. So, I'm not interested. We've seen that among many young people. If their, love is rejected, if the person they are interested in does not accept them, then disappointment in life, there is no interest. The other one that comes is what we say is smashana vairagya. When somebody has passed on, then at that time we come to realize immediately that all this is futile. What is the purpose of all this? And then after a little time, we revert back to our old ways because it was just a temporary. But this Viveka and Vairagya are two wings, which one spreads and takes a flight towards their goal or towards their destination. So these two bring about an inner shift in personality or an inner transformation. So for us, where we are seeking the permanent, the eternal within us, what does it do? Initially, it starts as a curiosity. So we are a jignasu, curious. Is there something like that? Once through Viveka, we are convinced that yes, that is the real permanent. That is what happened to Buddha. He did not have the stage of jignasu at all. As soon as he saw, his identity shifted to that of a sadhaka, became a seeker. We start seeking that which leads us to Satchidananda within us, that within us. Then spirituality does not become a part-time hobby and not a topic to be discussed in the living room in presence of company, but it becomes a way of life, what we live. And only when we have these two wings, Viveka and Vairagya, will there be a transformation, that shift in us, that it will become a 24/7 way of life. Every action we do, everything we do will be guided by Viveka and Vairagya. So that shift will be then lead to further enrichment. That enrichment is the sixfold wealth, which the topic, of course, we will take up next class. But the sixfold wealth is Shama, which is control of the mind. Dhamma is the control of the senses. Uparama is the withdrawal of the mind and senses. Because they are both controlled, they are withdrawn. Titiksha, which is forbearance or tolerance. Shraddha, which is faith. And Samadhana is then absorption of the mind in the goal. So that sixfold qualification we will take next time. But now we will say our concluding prayers. It's almost 10. Well, I say 10:30 because it is 10:30 my time. We will have, after the concluding prayers, a few minutes to meet with each other. And if anybody has any questions, we can answer them. Oh. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukha bhavet.
Sorry, Bhuvnesh, I had to leave because my orthopedist called. So I just interrupted. I had to interrupt.
Everything is okay, Bhadra?
Yeah, everything is okay. But as I just had to go for a visit, he was calling me to say I could go on Monday.
Okay.
He was calling for that only.
Okay. Jalpa, nice to see you.
Yeah, me too.
You had a good visit with your parents?
Yeah, mommy's health was a bit not well, so I went. Now she's okay.
Is okay. What happened?
She's a high BP patient, no? So BP was fluctuating very much.
Okay.
So I have to.
It's normalized now?
Yes. Now means it's under control. Normalized, under control.
With medications. So she must be on regular medications.
He was on regular medication from